energetically, they are costing you everything. And during perimenopause, the body becomes less tolerant of anything that drains or suppresses your truth. So, as we go through these, maybe you'll just let me know again in the chat if any of these are resonating with you. The martyr, always putting everyone first, even when it burns you out. So this is linked to chronic exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, low mood. And this is when the body is whispering, I'm tired of carrying what was never mine to hold. And so what if, for a moment, start to put down what isn't yours to carry, and you start to put yourself first and notice what happens when you do, even small amounts throughout the day, where you can feel that martyr rising within and the rage is building, tuning in what would support me in this moment. Maybe it's making a cup of tea and going to take a 5-minute break outside, or in the bedroom, wherever you've got a little cozy spot that you can go and take your tea and you can go and decompress for a few moments. So you're starting to put your needs first. So then we've got the caretaker, over nurturing others, often at the cost of your own needs. So very similar to the martyr, but it's kind of like where the martyr is like you're self-sacrificing. The over nurturer is we're over giving and we're overdoing to the point of exhaustion. And you know where you do it. I mean, I do it with my son. It's like I do things when I think I'm helping him because it would save time, when actually it doesn't serve either of us for me to over support him. And so maybe giving people more responsibility and again asking for more support. This resonates so much. I feel going to a martyr mode multiple times throughout the day. Yeah. Okay. So it's great. It's great when we can observe these patterns, when we go into these patterns, so that we can start to then backtrack and change our course so we don't end up experiencing the exhaustion, the rage, the brain fog. Because as I say, they are signals to the way that we are behaving in our own lives, and it's taking responsibility for that. And that can be another big challenge. Okay, so when we're in caretaker mode, this is leading to resentment and anxiety and an emotional dysregulation. And so the nervous system stays in high alert and it's unable to regulate. And this is when we struggle to switch off at the end of the day, and it's hard for us to go to sleep, or maybe we wake up in the middle of the night and we can't switch our thoughts off. So maybe if we're in that caretaker mode and we notice that during the day, where can we take a step back so that we're honoring ourselves and we don't get to that point of nervous system dysregulation? Then we have the good girl. So trying to please everybody but ourselves. And we have to be perfect. And we can't be too much and we can't be too loud. It's that too much kind of syndrome, where we're not actually honoring who we are, and we're really holding ourselves back so that we don't offend others with our too muchness in this world. So we shrink ourselves and we suppress ourselves. And this is linked to the suppressed rage and our lost identity. And that's when we come to perimenopause and we realize, who the F am I? I don't know, because I've suppressed myself for so long. I no longer know who I am. And this is old, deep, generational, ancestral, societal conditioning. So, and then we have the peacekeeper. So, avoiding conflict, swallowing opinions, keeping the peace, just because we don't want to deal with the drama and the conflict and the what it brings up. It means that we might have to have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, and maybe there's an argument because we don't agree, and so we push that down and we keep our opinions to ourselves because we don't want to offend people, bringing in the good girl again. And this is linked to throat issues. So this is why, there are a lot of women who have thyroid issues. And personally, myself, and when I started to speak my truth and come back into alignment, I actually healed my thyroid. It wasn't through medication. It was through speaking my truth. It was speaking up. It was having and being in conflict with people. And I came back into balance. And so and this is tension, it's brain fog, it's hot flushes. And so when the unexpressed truth tries to rise through the heat, through the overwhelm, through the fog, they're all trying to show us something. And so really tune into these roles. Maybe they're all of them, but maybe there's one specific one that resonates with you. What are you ready to release? You can drop it in the chat or you can just write it down. Just taking a moment to acknowledge whatever that is. You'd like to get your power back. I know it's all happening for me, not to me. Amazing. Yeah. And when we do this, when we start to acknowledge where we have stepped out of alignment through these roles, then we can start to really reclaim the power. Why this matters: when we release these outdated roles, your energy starts to return. Your body comes back into greater harmony. Your voice becomes clearer and stronger. Your confidence in self, your trust in self, these all start to rise. And when these all rise and come into alignment, this is when we can deeply connect back to joy. Because I don't know about you, but I lost that for a long time. And I think a lot of women feel the same. We come into these roles and it can feel like a burden because we're holding and carrying so much of the weight. There isn't time for joy. Don't even remember what that feels like. But when we can start to release these outdated roles, the joy, yeah, the joy. And it's so important. It's so important. And finding just small pockets throughout the day, the sunrise, the birds when they're singing, when the kids go to bed. There's that time to yourself, or just there's moments throughout the day where you can find, I can just be here and I can be present and I can focus on my breath. I'm breathing, I'm alive, and finding the joy in that. And so, are you willing to let go of who you've been so that you can become who you are truly meant to be? So, we're going to move into the second part. This is where we align. We can start to align more with the natural rhythm that is happening during this phase. And the theme of this is you're not meant to feel the same every day. You are cyclical. You are not linear. And so this is where the Infradian Rhythm comes in. And this is about working with the 4 phases of the cycle, because our cycles, we have this thing where it's 28 days. And for me, that's not the case. It kind of would fluctuate between 27 maybe and 32. And that was my cycle. And now it's kind of, it's 15 days to 40. And so now that range has grown and we kind of have to work with that. It's like this, it's like breath, it's like breathing, and we start to work with that cycle. But when we look at it in 4 phases, like the seasons, then it's a lot easier for us to do things that are more in sync with our cycle. And so we start with winter. And this is when we have our menstruation. This is when we're bleeding. It's when progesterone starts to, it declines, and our lining sheds. And this is a time, if you look at winter in nature, it's when everything is going to sleep. It's hibernation time. It's like it's going deeply inwards. This is a time of deep, deep rest and reflection. And maybe you're not able to go into that deep rest and hibernation for however long your period is, but maybe you can for the heaviest day of your bleed, for example. You can let go of everything that's in the calendar. We don't make any plans. We don't really go out. We eat the nourishing food. But tuning into the body, your body will tell you what it wants. And so listening to that, it's that time of really letting go so that we can move into that next part of the cycle cleaner, clearer. So it's really at this point, it's really going inwards and it's really taking care of yourself. And then, so when we've moved out of that phase, we move into the spring phase. So the follicular phase, it's when we're developing the follicle for the egg to be released. It's when the estrogen and testosterone start to rise. And with that, it starts to boost our energy, our creativity. And this is when we can plan for the rest of the month. And we can then start to sync with our cycle. And so this is when it's great to make those big plans so that we can execute them with more energy. Then we move into summer. This is ovulation, and this is when we're releasing the egg. And this is all about connection and visibility. It's when our estrogen and testosterone are at their peak level, and we want to be seen. We want to connect with people. So plan those events, be social, get yourself out there. Make those presentations if you're doing those kinds of things at work, for example. Have those conversations with people that you know that you need to have conversations with, because you're in that deep alignment, you're in that most confident phase, you're able to kind of sway the conversation. So have those big conversations then. And then we start to move into autumn. And this is the luteal phase. And this is when estrogen and testosterone are starting to decline and progesterone is starting to build. And this is the time for setting boundaries. This is when we want to be very clear on our no's and getting in that support system to help us during this period. And this can be like a 2-week period. So we're closing down those projects. We're closing down that to-do list. We're completing all of those. This is the time where we start to go inwards and start to release. And so that we're ready for the next winter phase. And when we start to do this with our cycle, you'll start to see you will have more energy when you need to have energy. You'll trust yourself when you need to go inwards. You'll not say yes to all those plans during the autumn phase and the winter phase. And obviously during perimenopause, this changes because sometimes we don't ovulate and we don't have that peak estrogen, testosterone. It's kind of like the rug is pulled from underneath us and we drop straight into the autumn period, and it can be very, very uncomfortable. So this is when it's kind of more erratic. This is when it's really, really good to actually track your cycle. So in the PDF, there's a whole section about cycle syncing and working with your cycle, what kind of exercise maybe you want to do during the different times, different journaling prompts and stuff like that. So there's loads of information in there to help you work with your cycle. Okay.